All right, cool. So here we go. Today, we've got Monte Clark here. I'm really excited about today. What we're going to do is I'm just going to do a quick intro, and I'm going to give Monte the floor. We are going to. It's probably going to be more of a Q&A format. Monte, if you're able to share your screen, that'll be awesome as well. If you guys want to chime in, that's totally fine. I would love your perspective as well. So let me kind of share on my end why I wanted to bring this up today. So for years, I've been in the camp where I would say, I actually I just realized this. I found myself like saying this in a sales meeting like 3 weeks ago, where my mindset has been, you know what, if you're going to do B2B sales, just find the people and straight up talk to them. And I was really bent on that because I would say, well, it's faster, right? And it's just faster. There's no need to do anything like with content. That's somebody else's job. That's kind of been my mindset. And then I realized probably like 2 years ago, man, if I work with a company that has marketing collateral, it's easier for me. And so that became kind of one of our requirements before working with someone, is that they already had marketing collateral. And then there was still like this big stupid block in my brain where I didn't realize, oh, if you do sales enablement through messaging, it actually goes farther if you can hold hands with the marketing team, right? For a number of reasons. So I realized that like we've been kind of for many years kind of operating with a chasm between the sales team and the marketing team. And I haven't really figured out the perfect solution for them to really have good synergy. And so I was talking to Monte. This is probably what, Monte, like 3 weeks ago when we first visited, 3-ish weeks ago.
Yeah, probably.
And he was kind of sharing some of the stuff that they were doing. And I was just thinking, I have really been missing out. I've really been missing out. We've been kind of being lazy about content, but part of it's because we have intentionally sort of siloed who we work with, and we just stick with the sales team. And the sales team's not usually interacting with the content creators. It's a whole different department that's doing any kind of company page content or whatever. So we've kind of just been leeching off of our own networks content and off of hashtags, so that we didn't have to deal with content creation. So we would we'll set up a search for content keywords in the newsfeed and sort of piggyback off of that and share it or whatever. If that makes sense? But we've never really invested in our clients having communicating their greater marketing message on the same platform that we're building zillions of followers with. And I just realized, wow, Isaac, you're probably missing out. And so this is not like an area that I'm a pro in at all. So like I said, we're more sales enablement. And so I'm really excited to scrape Monte's brains all the way out, put it back together. And hopefully what ends up happening here is we all do better, and maybe we can all end up charging our clients a little bit more and having having a bigger 401k at the end of the day, right? Okay, Monte. I don't know what else to say about Monte. He's super smart, obviously has one of the most lush beards in the world. He also lives in my town, which is a big win. Monte, take it from here.
Yes, sir.
You have the floor.
Yes, sir. Thank you. It's a nice introduction. I've never been introduced as having a lush beard, so I'm gonna hold on to that one. So, well, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here for most of you guys today. I mean, you're all LinkedIn experts. You all are very familiar with content and stuff like that. But maybe if there's one or two little things that you can grasp from what I'm doing, awesome. Otherwise, sorry you had to spend the time. But one thing that I'd like to share with first, right out of the gate, that Judy, kind as she is, alerted me to, is, and I'll share my screen here if everybody can see it. This is my daughter. So she's going to be 19 years old in about 2 weeks. And right now she's out in New York City. She has a modeling contract with this state management modeling agency out there. So she's looking to establish and grow her career as a model, but she's also been working with me for the past year, doing social media account management and stuff like that. So to assist her with starting her dream, if you would, in modeling, I'm kind of spreading the word to people that if you're looking for somebody, she's a tremendously talented writer. She scored 32 on her ACTs. She's very smart and she's very disciplined too. So I just got her onto LinkedIn. She's been doing, obviously Instagram and all that stuff with the modeling stuff too. So, but if you guys ever have any needs that you're looking for somebody that would do really well, either helping with your clients or just with yourselves, connect with her, reach out. That's my one little pitch. And thanks, Judy, for prompting me on that. So,
so your one pitch is to help out your family and daughter. What a
that's
guy!
Right.
What a
that's
guy!
Right. That's my only pitch. It's my only pitch.
And Monty, would you mind sharing the link to her profile in the chat so we can?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
So, get to that here real quick. So obviously open for any and all questions that you guys have, but I will, I'll start pasting this here. Okay. By saying that, let me stop the share while I launch into this first. By saying that I want to piggyback on what Isaac said earlier, that in most companies, if you guys ever spent time working for a company, either on the sales side or the marketing side, most companies that you find that will work, marketing and sales are two independent silos.
Yeah.
And those independent silos do not play well, right? In my experience, when I've worked for companies and in now working with companies to help them on both the marketing and sales side, traditionally what happens is marketing's over here saying, well, we're producing content and we're producing leads for the salespeople. They're just too lazy. They want hot leads. They want people that are ready to close. They don't want top of funnel. They don't know how to work people through a sales funnel, so on and so forth. It's not that we're providing the leads or not providing the leads. It's that they're not good at closing.
It's like blame shifting all for days.
Totally. Sales says, well, they're not providing leads at all. They're just providing, tire kickers, somebody that's, not ready to buy or anything. So I'm out here all on my own. I have to go out and find my own leads, so on and so forth. So there's always this divide, right? And then within that divide, marketing companies will then bring in other ad agencies or other marketing companies to try and accomplish getting this lead generation, building up the brand, so on and so forth. And it's a revolving door for marketing companies. After the year, you have been working with a client, you don't produce the results that they want. They don't really know how to communicate the results that they're trying to get. They don't track anything. And, that's why it becomes a revolving door. So when I started on LinkedIn 2 years ago, I decided I want to see if I can make marketing and sales work together so that I can not only have inbound leads come in, but it also assist or help me when I'm doing outbound sales. So I have worked on that for the past couple of years and have come close, I should say, to figuring that out, although you're always learning. So one of the things that I found out specifically about the marketing side of things is that what most marketing companies or internal marketing groups do on LinkedIn is simply spit out what I call website content. Mm-hmm. Website content is not engageable. It's just you ingest it, you do nothing with it. They hope to get people to fill out some kind of contact form or do something like that, but it's largely ineffective. Not only that, on their websites, on most companies' websites, they don't know who's visited. All they're getting is an IP address. They don't really know how to kick out the people who are just show up for less than 30 seconds and they bounce. What's a legit lead? What's not a legit lead? So then it comes down to, okay, what content do you create and where do you put it? How do you get people to engage it to actually create an inbound lead? The best way to do that is on social media. So then it becomes, okay, which platform, which social media do you do that on? I only focus on B2B, or if you have a product that's sold in the B2B space, like you guys, LinkedIn's the best place to do that, hands down. Question is, what content do you create then? So if you go out to most companies' company pages on LinkedIn, they may have, 200,000 followers, right? The bigger the company, the more followers they have naturally just because of their employee list. But what I have found is that most of those companies are producing website content on their corporate page content. Okay, so it doesn't still, that content really doesn't do anything for the salespeople at all, which is ultimately what we care the most about, right? So what I decided to do is treat corporate pages as though it's a person.
Can I ask you a question, Monty?
Yes, go for it.
With the website content, I love that label. Do you think that when a brand shares, quote, website content on their company page, that actually produces a hindrance for their employees to be excited about sharing the content? Yes. Because it's so boring and they're like, I don't want to taint my personal brand. This is so dumb. Oh, they're making me do it.
100%. 100%.
Okay, I've never thought about that before. Good insight.
100%. Yep. Not only that, they don't know what to do with it. Okay, we have to, there's 700 million people on LinkedIn. The thing that people like to kick around is like, oh, there's only 1% of those people who are actually content producers. Now that's a producer. That doesn't mean they're skilled at creating content, right? That's why there's all kinds of junk on LinkedIn that nobody cares about. Okay, so for us to take salespeople and act as though they're all of a sudden now going to become content creators is kind of crazy. Okay, because they're not writers, they're salespeople, right? So, and mostly what they are, if you look at most salespeople, a lot of salespeople are not very good salespeople. So what do we have to do to aid them as much as possible to give them a leg up in this process of actually creating relationships? Because most salespeople, most companies are under so much pressure. It's numbers. Make this many calls, make this many outreaches, get as many people into the funnel as you possibly can. They're so focused numbers wise that their ability to take websiteware and to create and to turn it into something that will actually create trust, expertise, and authority to them is about that much. Zero. They cannot do it. Right. So the responsibility of marketing should be assist the sales process, create a foundation where the salesperson then can go out and establish relationship, allowing the content that's created to create their trust, expertise, and authority for them. So that when I'm now doing my outreach, and that somebody goes and looks at my profile, somebody goes and looks at my content, what I'm doing, I have a good understanding of who the person is, what the problem that they solve, whether they can solve my problem, and if I can trust them and like them. So when I go out and create content for a company page, it is entirely driven towards create engagement, okay, with a target market. I don't care about communicating all the things that a company does. I'm not trying to give all the information that they can go out, and they will go out and get off of a website. My interest is, can I get you to interact with me, either with a like or with a comment on the content? And then can I create that content in a way that if my salespeople will then go and share that, can they add a sentence or two to it? And I can instruct them in how to do that. That either is a follow-up question or something in addition that will allow engagement on their own personal posts. So most companies get zero engagement on their corporate content, right? But if you can even get a handful of content, it'll do incredible things for your views. This was yesterday's post. Okay.
Yesterday's post. Yesterday?
Yesterday. Mm-hmm.
That's
How many followers, Monte?
14,000.
How many followers on the page?
We're up to 1,300.
And how are you growing those followers?
Wait, can we get there? We'll get there. We'll get there.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I can tell you that. So, okay, so 1,400 or 14,000 impressions on yesterday's post. You know, if you feel like that's an anomaly, you know, I had almost 30,000 on that one. We had 30,000 on that one, and we had.
Is an impression the same as a view here, Monte? Is that the same thing? An impression and a view, are they the same?
You can view on the site. There's a gnat's hair difference, but yes, it's LinkedIn is kicking that out. Okay, they treat corporate content slightly different, but they are kicking that out because your followers are different than your connections, right?
So there's 14,000 or 29,000 people that viewed this post, not the whole page, but this particular post. Is that right?
That particular post, yes. Mm-hmm. So if you go back up, you know, they'll give you monthly analytics, right? This is the last 30 days. So it's a rolling 30 days. So as one drops off, the next comes on, right? So in the last 30 days, we've had 418 unique visitors to this. I can click on that and I can see what the titles are. All right. We've had 91 new followers in the last 30 days. 235,000 impressions.
That's a lot of impressions in 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I challenge every single one of you, if you want to get into doing content for companies, and I highly encourage you to do so, go to them. If you can show them a number like this, I can push 235,000 views to your content on a monthly basis on LinkedIn. 95% of companies that you work with will not see that kind of views on their website in 2 years. We're doing that in 30 days.
And it's all targeted, right? It's not like
all targeted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm speaking directly to the people that I want to speak with. That's the biggest difference between social media content and what you're going to do with a website. I'm speaking directly to the people that I want to speak with. If you're not in my industry, you're not going to engage in this content. I don't care. You don't care. I'm going directly to the people that I want to get in touch with. This content alone produces for the recruiters of this company and for the salespeople of this company to go out and not only get jobs in that they can fill, but then to make it so much easier to contact and talk to the candidates to fill those jobs. Before this, they were doing nothing. They had no content at all, and they had less than 1,000 followers. Now, how do I get those numbers? Okay, it's very simple. One, mostly use text posts, text-based posts. I don't have any numbers to back this up, okay? But I highly believe that LinkedIn treats hashtags differently on corporate pages than they do your personal content.
Really?
I believe that, but I don't have any data to back that up. Just what I've seen happen when I have tested different hashtags and stuff on corporate page and to my own content.
Can you tell
on personal
differences?
content, hashtags seem to make like next to nothing of a difference. But if I mix up and if I do different hashtags here, it seems to make all the difference.
Really? So you're saying hashtag on a company page post is more powerful than
Yes.
on your personal posts?
Yes.
Huh.
Yes. So my hashtag strategy is to use high volume hashtags mixed with some lower volume hashtags.
That are more relevant and niche?
Yes. And but all of my hashtags are relevant. I try and make them as relevant to the post as I possibly can. Right? Now, the same thing that is true with image posts on your personal profiles is the same in corporate. You can see this one only did 346 impressions, and it's because I used an image.
Wow, that's a huge difference.
Images are terrible on LinkedIn. I don't know why they've done that, but they suck on your personal content and they suck on corporate content. So
dang it, I just did a post with you and had an image on there today. Lesson learned for next week.
So what performs the absolute best is text posts or a PDF post. If I would have taken this and created a 2-page PDF with it, that's just this image, the next slide would be information about contacting the company. This would have done 30,000 views.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah. Okay, so
do that and test it. We'd like to see the difference.
Well, I can show you that on my own personal page, on my own personal content.
Oh.
But I haven't done any PDF. It takes longer to make PDFs. I think the theory there with LinkedIn is that, okay, if you're just kicking out an image, you can kick out an image from anything and it may be a bunch of nonsense. And they can't algorithm the thing, right? They don't know what you're saying on it. So it's just kind of suppressed automatically. If you're doing a PDF, you've taken time, you've invested some effort into the content. So they push it out there.
Two questions I have. Are you responding to comments and are you notifying employees?
Yes. Number one most important thing on corporate content. You must get your employees engaged within the first 30 minutes.
30 minutes?
Without question,
wow.
You must get your employees engaged within 30 minutes.
And by engaged, does that mean just likes, reposts, actual I mean, I don't see comments on these, or what level of engagement do you need from them?
Likes, comments, and shares. So this is a small company. Okay, so me as the provider, I mean, I will go out, I will comment, I will use my company page, and I will comment, and then I instruct them to go out and comment themselves. So on most days, all the comments will pretty much be the team. Okay, and you'll see my company page show up and you'll see me show up. So if I can get 7 to 10 engagement, it doesn't take much. If I can get 7 to 10, but the more you can get, the more impressions you're going to get. So if you've got a company and they've got 50 people in the company and you can somehow create a program to where all 50 people will take 5 minutes a day, and when you post that, they will go out and do that, you will get massive views. And look, you can notify your employees on these posts. Okay, LinkedIn tells you to do it. Notify employees. They want you to do it. If you have a question of whether or not pods, LinkedIn is okay with pods, yes, they are. Okay, because they want you to get engagement to their content. They want you to have involvement on the platform, and they want you to get your employees together. We can have a whole discussion about pods.
Yeah.
Monte, you said about, so you were saying the images didn't do as well. What about curation style posts? Like, what about shares of any third-party content? Is there a way to make that work? Not your own content, not like your website content, but like, stories in the news on major industry publications or whatever.
Yes, one of the things that I found works tremendously well is to follow LinkedIn news.
Yeah.
Okay. If I can find a story here that relates to what I'm doing for that company, and I tag that, and I use their hashtags that they're doing, because lots of times, if like Great Cities Could Recover Fast, if I want to use this and create my own story with it, they'll provide me with the hashtags that they're wanting, right? So I can just grab those hashtags and use, or just find my own. But if I create a post out of this, I'll tag this person, Alexander Basant, who's an editor, and then I will use hashtags that they're using throughout these posts. I will look at what they're posting, what they're talking about, and I'll create my own content out of it. Okay, so that works extremely well. Anytime you can tag another company, a bigger company, and bring them into it somehow, LinkedIn will see that. They'll increase your views. Which, by the way, that works on your personal posts as well.
Yeah, I've done that on Twitter. Always try to tag the. I've always a good technique from Twitter is tagging both the, if it's a media article, is tagging both the media outlet and finding author itself and saying
Absolutely.
by so and so via such and such.
Yep.
I mean, it's tremendous for Twitter.
Yep.
Yes,
You get a
expect
huge
the same
bump here
thing
on
here.
LinkedIn too.
I was wondering on tagging the company, sometimes, you know, the person that's in charge of the company page is not necessarily the C-suite or whatever it is, whoever you want to reach. So that's why I think tagging the author probably gets their attention more so, because it may just go to a department or something like that. But one thing I noticed is you're not responding to comments as the company. Does that matter?
I haven't noticed that it matters a whole lot. I have done that. I have gone in as the company. I've responded to, you know, the text. Now, if anybody comments that's outside of the company, I absolutely will do that. And I will message my team there. I will say, guys, here's a comment, go get on it, right? And they do that. So the most important thing that you can do with companies that you're working with is you have to show them why this is important. And you have to give them incentive to be able to do it. Okay, now, there's a question, you know, we had a discussion last week, I think, about the C-suite and stuff and the fact that they're not on the platform and stuff. I think that's changing. I think a lot more companies are realizing that you have to have a presence even at the leadership level, whether it's their own presence or not. I will work a lot of C-level accounts for them. But it is important for leadership to have a presence and to be engaged just as much as, in fact, I would say even more so than employees, because you become the face of the organization. Okay,
I mean, you see people getting let go from C-suite positions because of what they say publicly. You can use that for good.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, obviously we all have to be careful about the things that we say on social media and everything else. But I think more and more especially since COVID and the lockdown and everything else, I think more and more leadership has to be involved and engaged in content and stuff, as you know, just as much as anybody else. So, now, how do you get employees, specifically salespeople, then what do they do with this content? Okay, so the first thing is you can do a mix of content. If you look at the way, if you go out to some different blogs from LinkedIn and stuff and you look at how they say to do content, it's very programmatic and kind of stale. It's like saltine cracker. Of what they suggest that you do with content. My recommendation, again, is really drive as much engagement as you possibly can. So for instance, do you know what you're worth? Okay, when interviewing, the inevitable question is going to be asked, how much are you requiring for salary? I am trying to get people to think about this and to engage with it in the content. Now, as you can see, I mean, we had 15 comments on that. I went and replied back as the company to these, and we did have a few that were outside of the company. But I can guarantee you though, if the 7 salespeople in this company shared that, and then if all they did was put, what's your thoughts on this question? And they put that out there, they then will produce collectively probably just as much in terms of views as what this post did here. Okay, so if I take the views and the impressions of what I'm getting here, and now I take 7 profiles and I duplicate that, now it's a rising tide floats all boats. Okay, I am now taking my brand message, I'm elevating my brand message and my authority as a brand in the community. And now I'm taking my salespeople and I'm creating trust, expertise, and authority and engagement, which is the most important thing. I'm creating engagement for my sales team. Okay, so this is engagement outside of my direct messaging. So I now have opportunities to look at people who are viewing my profile because of my content. I now have opportunities to engage and interact with people who are putting likes on my content. And anybody that comments at all now becomes an opportunity. So I'm creating that top line funnel through the content that I'm producing there. And that's for 7 people, right? With 1 post. I don't have to go out and create 7 unique posts. I just have to tell my team and show my team, this is how you engage this content yourself to build your own trust, expertise, and authority. And if you do this consistently over time, it will produce inbound leads for you. Now, how much time does it take? The biggest thing that you're going to get kickback on is, I don't have time to do this. Well, that's because most sales teams are stuck in old sales processes that are ineffective and don't work. But they're being told by leadership, pick up the phone, pick up the phone, pick up the phone. Just continue. It's all about how many times you can pick up that phone and how many times you can, or how many emails you can send out to get responses back. That is an old archaic sales process that, while from a numbers game, if you can pick up the phone and talk to 100 people a day, you might be able to get a person, an account in. But overall, it runs out. Okay, and it's ineffective, especially now, because since people went home, nobody's answering phones. So how do you get in front of people? What has happened is that they have taken that old archaic process of call, and they've pushed it onto social media, specifically onto LinkedIn. So now what it's doing, it's message, pitch. It's a numbers game. They brought the numbers game to LinkedIn, and that does not work. Okay, because if you're going to message and pitch, which I know you guys probably are not doing, but there are so many people who are. And because there are so many people who are doing that, it is making the legit process of building relationships that lead to opportunities by solving problems and creating value so much more difficult, because there are so many people getting pitched constantly. It's hard to work into that conversation. How do you overcome that? You create amazing content that creates great engagement that people can interact with. And then when you're messaging people and saying, hey, I'd like to establish a relationship to you, they can go social proof what you're doing, and they will engage you. So that's my soapbox. Anybody have any questions?
I do, Monty. So you're saying that you have the employees reshare the company page post because it's been kind of common belief that reshares go nowhere.
Yeah, I was going to ask that.
Yep.
And if so, how do they get it to go somewhere?
So reshares of content go nowhere. Employee reshares of corporate page content go somewhere. That you can get more engagement on. And the same holds true with your with your employee content as does the corporate content. You want to get engagement within that post within the first 30 minutes. But even if you don't, the and by the way, which is why you want it to be absolutely as engaging as possible. But even if you don't, the cumulative effect of that content over time still bears out. It is still very effective for the sales teams. I also tell people you don't necessarily have to share this content on a daily basis if you are also creating your own content that is quality and still creates that trust, expertise, and authority and allows you to build that sales funnel.
I have a question for you, Monte.
Yes.
Have you ever tested having employees share in parallel versus sequentially? So for example, you notify employees, everybody within 10 minutes shares the original post versus Joe shares it and then Bob shares Joe's share in sequence. Have you ever tested that at all?
No, because it gets very complicated.
Sure.
I tend to make this as absolutely simple of a process for the teams as possible, because I've found that, any amount of complication that I put on that process means they won't do it.
Yeah.
So, it's hard enough to get teams to actually engage in this process. And I will tell you, it's hard. Okay, it's difficult for people that don't use LinkedIn all that much to engage in this process until they see the effect of it. But once they start seeing the effect of it, it becomes very, very easy.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Monte, so what you're saying makes a lot of sense when you have a sales force. What if you are an expert that is having to also do the business development and you don't have a lot of people to share things with? Is it worth the time to spend on a company page and personal profiles, or does the company page become less relevant at that point?
Okay, so if I understand you right, you're working with a small company that doesn't have a sales force and you are the acting sales force for the company?
Yes.
Okay. Are you working
part-time? In this scenario, it's part-time because you're also the expert that's got to deliver on what you sell.
Are you working an individual's profile within the company?
Me personally?
Mm-hmm.
The smaller clients that
Mm-hmm.
don't have a sales team, yes, we're working with their personal profiles.
Mm-hmm. Then I would focus predominantly on their personal profile. Corporate pages are fantastic to build corporate brand, and corporate brand is important. But if you are limited, if you don't have people that are going to engage that content right away, and you don't have a team behind you to do that, if you're mostly just working for the individual, then I would focus on their individual content. You're going to get much more traction.
Okay, thanks.
That was a question I was going to ask Monte as well, along the same veins is, at what point in the development of a business does it make sense for them to invest both financially and with their time to, making sure that they're building the following and then putting the time into, storyboarding out what they're going to say and then publishing and then sharing? Is there, and this might be a loaded question, but is there a point where that just makes more sense as a business grows? Do you have any numbers for that as far as like age or headcount, revenue?
If you have it, if you have at least 2 to 3 salespeople within the company, then it makes sense.
Okay.
If you have, so that's about as small, I guess, if I would go, if you're working with solopreneurs or, people that are working with outsourced. Now, if they can get their outsourced people or whatever to come in and content, right. But I don't see that that's going to be very, very easy to do. So, but if you've got internal employees and and you can recruit, honestly, you can recruit anybody within the company to do this. It doesn't have to be just the salespeople. We have, you know, there's clients that they do have salespeople, but they also have some office administration and stuff like that. And we can get them to come in and share this as well. And you create incentive programs for them to be able to do it, right? So, you know, fact of the matter is your best brand ambassador are your employees. Okay, and that's across the board with any company, anywhere. So if you can get them to engage with social, see, a lot of companies are resistant to having their employees be on social media, which is a huge, huge mistake. And so there's oftentimes I've found that you have to go educate the leadership to say, let me tell you why it's important for your people to be on social media, and for you allot them the time, as long as it's focused time, right, to be able to engage that and what it's going to do for your brand. But again, you have to be able to show them the results of this and why they should do it. And if you don't have these kind of numbers to be able to talk to people, start with their websites. Okay, go to their website and just have them show you the analytics of their website. Who do you know of the people that are hitting your websites? Who of them do you know? Do you know their title? Do you know what they were looking for? Do you know anything about them by way of what part, outside, I should say, of what part of the country they were coming from and their IP address? Right? The answer will be no, unless they have clicked on a connect button or a contact us form and filled that out. So you can very simply show people what the analytics LinkedIn will give you on a corporate page and why they should engage there. And it's far more powerful than anything that you're going to get on a website. So if you don't have, you know, if you're just getting started with the content side of things, just have them justify their website numbers.
Hey, Monte, can I ask something real quick?
Mm-hmm.
Can I jump in here?
Yeah.
So I work with large, medium to large law firms. Now, they obviously don't have a sales force, you know, per se. Although I would argue that the associate attorneys who are chasing the billable hours, they are the sales force, they are the rainmakers. So I'm kind of applying a different title to those, especially the younger associate attorneys that might be on sort of partner track or something. I mean, would it be worth my while to convince leadership, the partners, managing partners, and the associates that they should be the ones to jump in and comment? And I made a comment about pod. There's a difference between pod versus pod, right? I don't know if LinkedIn recognizes algorithmically if a pod that's actually where there are comments by relevant people versus pods where unknowns simply jump in to create the numbers.
Yes.
Does LinkedIn see that? I mean, I assume it does, but two unrelated questions, sorry.
Yeah. So to answer the first question, yes, it's absolutely important. How I would go about doing that is I would do a search for attorneys. I'd go check out some accounts, and there are attorneys out there that are producing fantastic content on a daily basis, and they're building their businesses with it. And I would show them that. Okay. And I would show them the effects of that. The second question, in terms of pods, LinkedIn's all about pods. It's just it's just the definition of the term, right? So if you comment on somebody's post, they're going to show that content to you tomorrow. Okay, so if you comment on 20 people's posts on Monday, they're going to show you most of that content again tomorrow if they have it. What's that? That's a pod. Okay, they're creating engagement for you with people that you know, like, and trust, or whatever. Okay, same thing on corporate pages. They put in a button for you to go alert people to come comment on your stuff. Okay, LinkedIn is telling you that engagement is important right away. Okay, so where it goes awry, where it goes bad, is when you get pods. The true definition of the pod basically is people that have hundreds of people in a group posting a bunch of nonsense you don't care about. You're forced to go out and like and comment on everything, and all it is nice posts.
So it's not necessarily where this person is coming from in terms of the comment, but the quality of the comment. Does it relate
Yeah.
to the post, or I mean?
Yes and no, because the algorithm is basically just data, right? So yes, they will see the post, they'll see the engagement, and it will spin it up, okay, and get you more reach. But it does you no good. Okay, so just 200 random comments that are worthless, who cares? Okay,
except that it generates visibility. I mean, there's the argument that visibility generates visibility, right? I mean, this has been the truth of social media since day one.
Yes, it does. But focused visibility is far better.
Yeah, yes, but I mean, the way the algorithm works, broad visibility ends up generating focused visibility too.
It does.
Right? It's not.
So,
I mean, you actually are going to have a better opportunity of finding the 1,000 people you want to talk to if you've got 100,000 views than if you're just trying to find the right 1,000 people.
Yes. Now, here's my biggest argument against that: time. Okay.
Well, yeah.
All right. If I am going to spend an hour a day going out and commenting on 200 people's posts, what? I mean, it just attracts me away from actually building a business. Honestly,
yeah.
I might be doing a lot to build up other people's businesses because I'm bringing my network into your post. But what I'm interested in is actually creating a business. So I'm going to be very focused with who I go out and talk to.
Yeah. I would add to that as well. From our experience with client feedback is when outside of what a non-person algorithm thinks, it's what are you known for by human flesh sacks, right? If you are engaging in a pod or part of a pod and it's all kind of noise, people, they check out when they see your stuff. But if you're known for something because you've curated it and it's been intentional, people outside of the algorithm, they'll associate you with something as well. Just from that has implications, you know, when you're engaging with material for a client, you know, just personal brand dilution, basically.
Yeah.
Monte, so we're coming up close on the hour. Would you be able to give everyone a really broad but helpful roadmap from, okay, we've reached the threshold to where it makes sense to start focus on company page content and the sales team working with marketing team? What are like 3 to 5 steps from we're thinking about getting going to we are going? What does that look like from, you know, building followers and storyboarding, things like that kind of thing?
Okay. When I talk to a company, I start with sales. I start with the sales process. Walk me through what you're doing from a sales standpoint. Tell me where you're finding your stuck points and where things are going well, right? Then I move into their marketing, which typically is just mostly either ads, Google ads, and website, or some variation of that, right? So what I'm trying to establish is this connection between marketing and sales. If I can establish the connection between marketing and sales, what I want to do is build up your trust, expertise, and authority that enables the sales process to flow better and to reduce the sales cycle, right, through the content that we're producing. Would you be interested in developing that? If the answer to that is yes, then the question is, how do we get those two together? Okay, so then I will take them out to LinkedIn and I will show them the kind of analytics that LinkedIn will provide for you if you engage in this process. Then I can show them what it will do from a personal standpoint if you're engaging the content as well. And it's just logic that if you can bring the two together, that it will shorten the sales process and enable your sales team. Okay, for one, it's a huge benefit for them to see that they can actually even get engagement on their stuff at all. right? Because a lot of people can't get engagement to their own content. So if you can get to there, then the sales process in convincing people to engage in this process becomes much easier. Because again, most sales teams are kind of locked into a traditional sales approach. In this company's page that I'm working with, they had the same thing. They hired a salesperson at the same time that I started working with them. And 2 weeks in, I said, how's it going with your sales? And we hadn't started our content process yet. We're going through some strategy sessions. And he said, well, I'm making 50 calls a day. And I can't get anybody on the phone. I'm like, well, how about we do it different? So when you can show them that the traditional approach, that what they're doing already doesn't work, a lot of times they'll be interested in, okay, I'll give this a shot. Okay, so if you can just get them to invest just a little bit, it's not, if you can get content engagement to your company pages and show them how to use this, it'll be effective for them and they'll start seeing a difference. So always, always, always take a look at their sales process and figure out the holes in their sales process. Either they're not, it's either in them not communicating that the problem that they solve, or their process in which they're going about communicating that is wrong, right? So if you can solve those two components to them, then the marketing adding is just it's like throwing fertilizer, right? Miracle Grow on a plant. So you got to make sure that they have their sales process right first. Does that answer that question?
Kind of. So it seems like, so if you've reached the point where it makes sense to do what we're talking about today, step one is evaluate sales and marketing process, like create a user persona. Mm-hmm. And then step two, sales and marketing need to play together to craft, how do we communicate our offer to our target audience? And then once that's ironed out, at least enough to get started, should we just at the same time work on starting publishing and then doing the process with having the team share, as well as inviting connections to follow the company page? Because you get like 100 a month. So is phase one basically like, let's get some content going so there's something there, and at the same time aggressively try to grow followers? Is that kind of phase one?
Yeah. So thank you for bringing that back up. I forgot to touch on that. You want to invite people to follow the page on all of your content. So one of the things that you want to get your people to do is when they post in the comments, say, follow us at, and put the company, right? Tag the company. Always do that. You always have to have a call to action to get followers, to build up of that. Then you always have to use your invites. Then when you're talking to people, when your team is connecting, when they're connecting with people, one of the first asks, and it's an easy ask, is always ask them to follow your company page. And if they have a page that you would like me to follow, I will do that too, right? So it's a give to get, but always ask early on, and it's an icebreaker. It's an easy way to get somebody to actually start giving you something, but just follow my page and then I will follow yours. So do that with all of your sales teams.
Do you know, if you kind of do follow for follow, this is, you might not even know this, no big deal if you don't. Does it make your post go less far if you are following, like 1,000 company pages? Doesn't matter.
No.
So you could do that over and over and over, and it won't affect your reach at all. Interesting. So phase one.
Everybody you connect with is also a follower.
I mean that the company following company pages. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean the same holds true with company pages. It doesn't matter.
So kind of phase one, when you're first getting started, it's super critical to get the process set up so the team can share easily. Plus, main call to action is growing followers.
Yes, primarily. I mean, because it's an easy ask, right?
Yeah. And then, sorry, the tornado sirens are being tested here right now. If you hear that,
Yeah.
I shouldn't die. Is there like a slow fade to where you switch the main kind of campaign call to action from follow to, you know, a more salesy lead gen form call to action?
Only once you've established rapport.
What does that look like?
It looks like when you go to a live networking event, pre-COVID days, and you walk through a room, and instead of walking up to people and handing them your business cards and saying, here's what I have to offer, it is asking them questions about themselves and getting that person to talk to you about themselves. That's building rapport, right? Show that I'm interested in you. When I show that I'm interested in you, then I can start asking you targeted questions that will give me insight whether or not you're a lead for me. And if you are a lead for me, I can solve your problem. That's the only way you're a lead to me. And if you don't understand the problem that you solve, you're never going to make a sale.
Yep, totally.
Mhm.
I feel like we could almost do a part 2 where we bring clarity on how the sales team works together with the marketing team to turn engagement into sales conversations at a one-on-one level, because I feel like that's the bridge that needs to be built. That's the bridge we need to build, you know, like how do we make it easy to go from there's content engagement on LinkedIn company page with my stuff that I've shared, there's traffic to the website, there's a new follow. How do we take those actions and use them as a trigger event for a sales action, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that would be worth a part 2 here in the future as well. Anybody else on that? Yeah. And let me tell you this as well. I mean, this is part of why I wanted to do this today. With a 100 a week limit invite, you have got to find another way to make up for volume. And so we've been messing with stuff here these past couple of weeks with content. Like we just did a few days ago, a poll for a client, and both answers we could turn into a sales conversation. And we set up 2 meetings. It wasn't like a salesy poll, but just stuff like that, where last year I'd be like, it's not worth our time. Let's just find them, send them a message anyways. But between there being a lot of noise on LinkedIn plus invite restrictions, I just feel like if you want to keep going and make more money, you'll have to incorporate some of these things into your company's wheelhouse. Just it's where I see things headed, you know.
Agreed.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Any other questions here for Monte about what he's shared so far before we let everyone go?
I have one quick question
for you.
2 questions. We have 2 questions.
Go ahead, Mike.
All right, my question about pods is I have, when I have a client who does a nice post or an article, we don't have a pod set up amongst my clients, but I'll grab that URL to the post and go into each one of their accounts of the other 20 and like it.
Sure.
I mean, and it's really easy to do, and it's so easy to do really quickly. It makes me wonder, is this something I should be spreading out over time? Because there's some algorithm there that's going to say, oh, that's something fishy going on there. That's not genuine traffic.
No, they won't. They won't do that. And you'll even get even more reach if you add a comment to it at the same time.
Okay, so take the comments thing away, because I'm trying to do it really quickly here. I don't promise comments, okay? If I could do 20 in 2 minutes, it wouldn't matter if it was 20 in 2 hours or 20 in 2 days. It's just 20, and there's no algorithm penalty to be had there.
Right.
Great, okay. I understand the comment part. It's just really easy for me to do this for free for clients.
Yeah, for sure. But I will say you can charge more and put comments.
Perhaps, yeah, I'll explore that, Monty. Thank you. Thank you.
Yep.
Jared, go for it.
Yeah. Monty, is your strategy aimed at keeping people inside of LinkedIn, or are you also creating offloading points outside of LinkedIn?
Great question. My strategy is to about 80% keep them inside of LinkedIn. But if you notice, one of the primary things that we track and that I do on a monthly, on a real-time basis, honestly, is how many people I'm pushing over to their website.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, here's another thing that this is why if you solve one problem for people, one primary problem for people, they will trust you to solve them all. Okay. When I go to them and I say, I pushed 54 people to your website this month, and here's the titles. That's legit, right? I mean, that's legit people that I know who they are. When I go to the website, I say, now, what'd you do with them? Okay, how'd you capture them? I don't know, right? Okay, now let's address the website. Now let's address what we need to do on your website so that when I send them there, they actually become a lead that you can do something with.
Yeah.
And so they'll trust you to solve that too. So if you're wanting to expand your services even further than that, I mean, quite honestly, you want to, just bring somebody else in to do that part of it. You can still take a percentage of it. Just bring somebody in, take a percentage of it, say, I'm going to have you work with so-and-so, and you increase your business like that.
Yeah. And is it also that you create the storyboard or the story brand for those companies, and it's your mind doing the work for them?
Yes. I will create the strategy with them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I will create all the content for them. And or if they have a marketing team, I can just oversee the process. And they send me all their content, I adjust and kick it back to them, and then they will post. But for the most part, yeah, I'll create all their content for them. I'll create their social or their hashtag strategies. I'll do all their SEO research, figure out what content we can then turn into blogs, and then push out to their websites, all kinds of different stuff that we can do.
Yeah. And the strategy on the company profile. Are they also self-promoting them, or is it only the text that you do it's enabling the salespeople?
So are you talking about on their salespeople and what they're doing on their own personal profiles with the company page?
No. What I mean is when I saw the page profile, you are placing the text there.
Mm-hmm.
And if the company is self-promoting themselves by the awards they're winning and talking about themselves, is that interfering with your strategy?
Oh,
I see what you're saying. If they want to post something, no, it doesn't interfere at all. I tell them what to do. I tell them how to make even that content engageable. Okay, promote yourself all day long. Okay, let's make that content engageable, and then we can show them how to do that, and then they can post all day long. Now, I only do one post a day for this company. We have other things. Corporate content is not like corporate page content is not like personal posts. Okay, you do better the more content that you post out to a corporate page. So if you can post 4 posts a day to a corporate page, you're going to get even that much more, and it doesn't cancel one of the last one out like it does on a personal post.
Monte, do you have? Sorry, Jared, did you have? Is there more to that?
No.
You sure? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Did I answer your question?
Yes,
okay.
You did.
Okay.
Do you have any recommendations, Monte, for like if we want to start implementing this? What do we use for managing it all? Like, what do we use for like Trello? Like, what are you using for like, this is what we want to talk about. Here are the days, what do we use for that? Is there like something free or cheap that we can use to keep that all organized? Publishing schedule?
You can really use whatever you want. You can use Hootsuite. You can use, any of these that automation in terms of posting and stuff work well. And because you're mostly doing text-based posts is what I recommend. They all work just as well as any of them. So
Honey, I got a question to follow up there. When you're using an automation tool, let's say HubSpot or something to post out on LinkedIn, and you want to tag a person, want to tag Monty, you can't do that with a tool, can you?
No.
So you got to
Yeah,
go in. Do you use a tool to post it and then go in manually and fix it after? Or do you just post it manually?
Yeah, if I'm going to do a tag, I typically do it in the comments. So I'll engage that person directly in the comments so that it's. But if I'm going to do it from a company, or if I'm going to tag the editor of LinkedIn stuff, I want to do that in the post. So there's definitely times where I'll just jump over and post it myself and make sure that the tags are working.
Okay.
Have you noticed a reach difference when you publish something through something that's using an API versus just through the browser interface?
No.
Okay. That's good to know. Oh man. Okay. Well, I'm excited for part 2 on this later on. Any final burning questions before we let Monty go back to work? All right, Monty. Thanks, man. I really I appreciate your time.
Thanks for listening.
I feel like I learned so much. We just talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and I still learned a ton. Thank you so much, Monty.
My pleasure.
Good stuff.
Blessing, guys.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Monty.
it.
Thank you.